What is going on, everybody? It's Jackson and Steven from Dinger Dudes, and today we have a very special interview with MLB pitcher, mostly known for his time with the Miami Marlins, Dan Straily. Dan, how's your summer going? And thank you so much for taking time to join.
Yeah, it's going well here in AAA with the Iowa Cubs, and just really grateful to have this opportunity to keep throwing out here in season number 16, and just loving this journey that I'm on, and yeah, just loving getting a chance to still throw baseball professionally.
Yeah. Well, in your MLB debut against the Blue Jays in 2012, you went a very impressive stat line with 6 innings, 5 strikeouts, and only giving up 1 run. How did you feel after leaving that game specifically?
That was great. Like I was more nervous for my AAA debut than I was for my big league debut. I had a lot of starts under my belt. It was a different time in the game, and I think I was around like 90 or so, probably minor league starts before I got called up. But one thing in that game that I was really proud of is at the time, I don't remember exactly the number because it was quite a long time ago, quite a few years ago, but I threw 70 strikes in that game. And that was like something only been done like 10 times or something like that in major league debuts going into that. So I was really proud of that. It was a lot of fun. That was innings 1 through 6 of now I'm at 800 something. So it was quite a few innings ago, but yeah, it was always a fond memory coming up on the anniversary of that here in a few weeks, actually.
That's awesome to hear. Steven, you want to ask your first
Yeah.
question?
So I was actually just scrolling through some some of the social media, and I saw a post that you just reached 1,000 strikeouts in the MILB. So I
Yeah,
just wanted to get your feeling when you actually reached that milestone.
I mean, it would have been great never to have gotten there. Don't get me wrong. That'd have been great to just be in the big leagues my whole life, right? But
Mm.
nonetheless, I just that was my got my 1,000 strikeout. It's something cool. It's something definitely not everyone gets a chance to accomplish. Like I said, a couple minutes ago, I'm just grateful to be here and grateful to still get to do this. And so, just grateful to have that 1,000 strikeout as well. And my last start, actually, I got my 1,000th inning in the minor league. So
Wow.
it's all stuff that
Congratulations.
just, I can't believe if you would have told the 20-year-old back in 2009 that you're going to reach 1,000 innings and 1,000 strikeouts and you're going to get to you're going to reach 1,000 strikeouts first. Like I wouldn't have believed that when I was a 20-year-old, just naive 24th round draft pick joining the A's organization. So, yeah, just grateful for all of it. And, it's like a different time of my life than back then where I'm just grateful that my son gets to be a part of it. And my wife's been around. She's been a part of the journey the entire time, but to have my son get a chance to be a part of it has been really special.
Now, I know you talked about your time in the minor leagues and the major leagues, but I wanted to talk about your time in the KBO. I know after the 2019 season, you went overseas to Korea to play in the KBO, and then bam, COVID hit. What was that experience like, not just with the pandemic, but transitioning from Major League Baseball to Korea?
I mean, that's a really long answer for that one. I have a whole podcast devoted to that, called The Journeyman, if you want to go check out the long-winded answer of this. But it was really interesting to get over there, and I was really excited to go see this whole new dynamic of how baseball was played and how it was, from a fan experience and all this kind of stuff. And like you said, as soon as I got there, COVID hit. We got delayed 7 weeks, played in front of nobody, but we got our full season in. I got 200 innings in, and was lucky enough to be asked to come back. Was really grateful for my time overseas in Korea, and would probably go back if offered again. But it was just one of those things where definitely not what I thought I was walking into, not what I thought I signed up for. But like everyone else in the world at that time, that was what we were dealt, and that's what we got to deal with. So I was really grateful for the second year there, probably more than the first year, because I did get a chance to experience what KBO baseball is all about, and the energy the fans bring, and the constant cheering, and the dancing, and just the whole atmosphere that they bring to games. It's just so different than what we do here in America.
That's really great to hear. I've always enjoyed that side of baseball, watching how like the energy is just there's just a different type of energy. Like when you look at like the Korean baseball organization, and I think it's a really cool experience that you got to play there. Um, I wanted to talk to you about your off season workouts and just how we've seen guys in the game, obviously, like my references go. I go to Charlie Morton, who's at age 40 and still in the game. You've like you just said, you pitch 1,000 innings in the minors. I just wanted to know, what does it take for you to reach that milestone?
I I take about 2 weeks off a year. Like honestly, like it's a we only get paid for 6 months, but it's a year-round job. And I think anyone that doesn't treat it that way, like doesn't last too long in this game, maybe there are some guys that are able to just be that gifted, but I'm not one of them. So the off season for me, I've been using Driveline baseball since 2014 or 2015 off season was when I first went to them, back before they were cool, and I've been using those guys and leaning on them a lot. But really just you're training at home, getting ready to go every single year, just making sure my body's prepared to go 200 innings as a starting pitcher is really the goal every single offseason. So just making sure I'm strong enough. And as I've gotten older, it's been less about am I strong enough and more about am I mobile enough and making sure I keep up with that mobility. Not the young 20-year-old that started this journey. Now I'm the 35-year-old that needs to make sure that my hips and knees and ankles and back are all good to go. Anyone that starts to age, you really kind of start to really realize that the people in front of us weren't saying that as a joke. That like your body does, you got to stay mobile with it, and especially as an athlete, when I'm asking a lot of it, that's kind of what I've really turned my off seasons into. It's just combining and learning, how to stay mobile and stay strong at the same time. But truthfully, like I think that's also another part of the reason that I've played this game for so long is that I fell in love with that process a lot more than anything else of the weight room and the diligence of every day. This is what I do. I go to the gym, I throw, I get myself ready. Baseball season's coming soon, and that's what we're prepping for. And I think that diligence I've had my whole career is probably a big reason why I'm still around today.
I know again, you said you've had a long career in the minors and the majors and the KBO. We recently had an interview with Justin Masterson, former Cleveland Indian, actually, and I did want to ask you, who was the toughest batter you faced in the minors, the majors, and the KBO?
I mean, I don't really remember who the toughest batter I've faced in the minors would be. Might be because you just don't face the same people over and over again. I think I faced Mike Trout before he was super known as Mike Trout, right? And like I don't remember if it was like a tough at bat, but I could easily sit here and tell you that he was one of the toughest at bats you faced in the major leagues. Torrey Hunter was my daddy. If you go look up his career against me, Torrey was my daddy. He was like I want to say he was like 7 for 9 with like four homers and two doubles. Like it was like he got me. And then I got him in the playoffs though. I struck him out 3 times in the playoffs. That 2000 and I think it's 2013 season. So but he was regular season, especially he was my daddy. In Korea, there's a guy over there named Chejong that I just can't. I got nothing for Chejong. I don't know what it is. He leads KBO in home runs. He leads KBO in hit by pitches career wise. The dude just rakes. It's one of those guys that like I was really shocked that he never really came over here at any point in his career. He's just a really good hitter. But yeah, that's probably it. Trying to think really hard of a minor league hitter that I just yeah, I think there's just too much turnover. Like you don't even like I'm going in to face the Indianapolis Indians here in a week, and it'll be my third time against them this season already. And that roster is going to be the third time through. It's going to be completely different than the second time, completely different than the first time. It's just how it functions here in the minor leagues, especially in AAA with how much turnover. But I would definitely say KBO, Chejong, and MLB with Mike Trout and Torrey Hunter being two of the hard guys.
Yeah, I know again, a lot of the fans here in America don't realize how talented the players are in the KBO or the Nippon Baseball League in Japan. So that's honestly great to hear
Yeah,
how talented those guys are.
yeah,
Yeah, like you said, there's always like I mean that's with every pitcher. You can be the most dominant pitcher in the league, and there's always going to be that one guy that you face in the majors that just no matter what you throw him, he's going to sit there and figure it out. But I will say that even though you say Torrey Hunter is your daddy, you did get him when it matters. You
I
got him in
did.
the playoffs.
I
So
did. Yeah. No,
That's the
and
important part.
yeah, it was a lot of gratification for getting him in that moment. It's just a blip on the radar, a few moments of my life, but that was a lot of gratification getting him in the playoffs when it mattered.
That's awesome. I wanted to talk to you about guys that you looked up to, like in the young part of your career. I've asked this in other interviews, and I feel like we all have that one player that we just want to model ourselves after when we're growing up, and we look up to and we want to be like them. And obviously, you made it into the league, so I just wanted to know who is that guy for you?
For me, I grew up watching mostly wanted to be, even though I'm right-handed, Andy Pettit. We had in the summertime, my parents would get cable TV for us, and we would get the Yes Network and KTLA and TBS and WGN. And for those of you that don't know, that's the former Dodgers, Cubs, Braves, and Yankees stations. And so I would watch a ton of baseball. So I grew up watching a lot of Andy Pettit, and I just really liked watching him compete. And I was actually fortunate enough back my rookie season getting a chance to start a game against him. So that was really special for me. But he was probably just the way he competed, the way he just never backed down. And I didn't really know what it was about it until I got into the league myself, like watching him do that and realizing how special it was. But yeah, that was my guy that I really enjoyed watching. And then I was also a huge Mike Piazza fan growing up as a kid,
Mhm.
being born in Southern California. We relocated to Oregon pretty quickly, but being born in Southern California, my family was all Dodgers fans. My dad was a huge Dodgers fan back in the day, and so like all that stuff was kind of ingrained. And Mike Piazza was the Dodger at the time when I first really got into baseball, and then obviously he went on to the Marlins for a minute, and then up to New York for a lot of his career as well. So I was just kind of inadvertently ended up following both the New York teams a lot, following Piazza and following Pettit.
Now, I did want to ask you more of a unique question. I'm not sure if you get this at all, but I did pull up your baseball stat reference page, and I know you have nicknames like Rojo or Thunder. I believe this is true. Um, do you have a favorite nickname and how those came to be?
Yeah, I've never gone by Thunder. That was I had like four rejected players weekend names by MLB. And so I just literally turned to my coaching staff and was like, pick something. And that's what one of my coaches put down. Like he gave me that one. Rojo is the same thing where like they give you these, like not everyone has a nickname, right? Like that's just
Mhm.
not a thing. Like my favorite nickname is Dad. That's what my son calls me. And so it's just like you get all these things and it's like you just get these hey, what's your nickname for the back of your jersey? And in Miami, my first year, pitching coach called us all caballos, right? So a horse in Spanish. And we had the flaco caballo, the viejo caballo, the skinny horse, the old horse, and I was the red horse. So I was the rojo caballo. And so I just went by Rojo on the back of the jersey there. So not ever really been a nickname guy. I think those are a lot of the thing of the past in a way. Like not a lot of us walk around the world these days with a nickname. And I feel like the ones that do, congrats, man, you're special. Like that's cool. But most of us just go by our first name or our last name, right? Or some small variation of our name, which I guess is a nickname in itself. But it's not something cool and crazy like Rojo or Thunder Dan. He was a basketball player. I think that's where Wallet got it from. Was there's just basically stole that from a basketball player's name. So
So I wanted to get into the mechanics of the game. And I wanted to, like, we were talking in our last podcast about how hard it really is to get pro in baseball because, with all due respect to the other sports, I know it's hard to get into pro in any level, like with football, basketball, but with baseball, you're having to go through all of these levels in the minors just to finally get your name called up and to achieve your dream. And I wanted to get into this question about how do you think the game has changed in as being a pitcher in like the mechanics and everything and like overall like how do you think it's changed in pitchers attacking hitters and like the process of getting called up to the majors?
I think it's there's a quote, you don't know what you don't know. And 10 years ago, we didn't know what we didn't know, right? Like
Right.
so having just the access to data and analytics has really changed the game in a lot of facets. It's sometimes you hear, it's not necessarily guys. We've had guys on our team here in AAA Iowa this year that had, 6.5 ERAs and other stuff like that get called up and they go to the major leagues and they just dominate because metrically, like it shows that they will dominate. Like we just AAA is a really hard place to play baseball. Like quite frankly, a lot of the stadiums are winds howling out, smaller stadiums and all this. Like I can get into all that, but the like statistics, analytically, like this guy was going to shove in the major leagues, and he is. And so you see like that a lot more. You used to rarely see, no matter how hard guys threw, you used to rarely see guys that weren't having success go to the big leagues. And so it's just a matter of football's done a really good job of having the combine and being able to like analyze and figure out who's going to be good at what based on their metrics of who they are as an athlete. And now that we have a little more data driven with baseball, we're able to do that as well. So it's not as straightforward as I think as it used to be, right? It's a lot more of how does the data look? How does the metric look? How does somebody's algorithm rate this player, despite what the classic numbers are? Quite frankly, I know it still shows up on everything, but like a lot of people don't even really like ERA is not even like a big one anymore. Like it's just there's so much that goes into ERA. Like it's just not an individual. It's not really a great representation of an individual, right? Because as a pitcher, you're relying on the guys behind you. Unless you strike out 27 per nine, like you're really relying on the guys behind you. And so is that a good indication of who you are as a pitcher, right? So there's just like all this other stuff where they're still trying to figure out. I think everyone has their own secret sauce of what they believe in and what they're looking for in players, but it's really just been from that side of things. I think it's the biggest one. It's just the way they evaluate players, the way that the way the fans look at players is probably pretty much the same, but it's probably the way it's the way that the teams evaluate players that's really drastically changed in the last 16 years since I've been a part of professional baseball.
I did want to go back to your MLB debut. I wanted to ask, do you remember the Oakland Athletics? I have it pulled up here. The Oakland Athletics lineup from your MLB debut.
Absolutely not. I could probably name a few. Um, but Derek Norris was behind the plate. Maybe Brandon Moss was at first base. Eric Sogard, second base. No, Jamal Weeks probably second base.
Yeah, Jamal.
Steven Drew at shortstop.
No.
No, he wasn't there that day.
Mm.
Who played short?
Adam Rosales.
Rosie played that day. And then I had Brandon Inge at third.
Mm.
Probably Yoenis in left.
Yes.
Coco in center. Maybe Reddick in right.
Hmm.
DH. DH would have been. I have no clue. Johnny Gomes wouldn't have started that game. I think I was facing a right hand. No, I was facing a left-hander. I don't know. Who was the DH?
Johnny Gomes.
It was Johnny Gomes.
It,
Okay.
Oh
So
wow.
it was
I
Johnny
got
Gomes.
okay. So I got 9 out of 10 and I was on the mound. So I got 9 out of 10. It's not
Yeah,
bad.
I mean, like you said, for saying absolutely not, I think you got pretty much the
Yeah.
entire lineup that day.
I had to think about it because I couldn't even at first when as soon as you said that, I was like, who even played third back then? Because I knew it wasn't Josh Donaldson, but that's what I wanted to say. But no, that's dude, that game went 18 innings. That was an absolute marathon
Wow.
of a game. I got back to the hotel, family at 2:30 in the morning. Like it was just a marathon of a day. We'll talk about whirlwind of emotions, getting called up, doing this, like quality start, great, 1 run, boom, 18 innings later. I pitched a third of the game. Like think about that. Like I pitched a third of the game. So
And actually, Brandon Moss pinch hit. First base was Chris Carter.
oh, CC played first. Okay, so Moss didn't. Yeah, it was 18 innings. I'm sure more than the starters played. Yeah, that would make sense because I was facing a lefty, so it would have been Chris Carter over Brandon Moss because it was back when the A's were very platooned, very platooned.
Well, Steven, do you have a final question? Because I have one more question.
That you can shoot it. You can shoot it.
So in 2013, Justin Masterson also played a playoff game. Can you describe the playoff atmosphere that year?
Dude, I like blacked out when I pitched. Like I can talk about the playoff atmosphere, but like when you're out there competing
Yeah.
in that moment, like I couldn't have told you if like the most famous person on planet Earth sat in the front row. Like you're just like so dialed into what you're doing. And that's not just for that game. That's like for honestly, it's for most games, but like those games especially like you don't see or hear much of anything. Like I had to go back and like watch my playoff start to like see like what really happened. Like honestly, like you're just so locked into what you're doing. But it is the coolest atmospheres to be a part of. Like I got a chance to sit in the dugout for quite a few playoff games and obviously play in one, pitch in one, and it has been amazing to be a part of. But the energy that fans bring to the game, I don't think they realize how important that is to the players and how much more fun it makes our job of being entertainers, being ball players on the field, because like we just feed off of that and it just helps us just funnel our focus and like really just get the best out of who we are as athletes. And I know it's a two-way street because we have to play really well to get the fans to come out, right? Like that's like no one wants to come watch a bad team play baseball, right? So you just show up and do your job every day. But being in the playoffs is what we're here for, right? Like we show up with the goal of going to playoffs every single year. And feel very fortunate I got a chance to play in the Major League playoffs. And honestly, I really hope I get a chance to do it again.
Well, I hope you do too. But Stephen, do you have any final questions?
Not necessarily. I had four questions loaded up for this, so
Perfect.
Dan, before we wrap up this interview, is there anything you'd like to shout out or where we can find you?
I would say my stuff, but I honestly don't even know like where you would find. If I said like at Dan, I don't even know what it would be. Like my Instagram handles and Twitter, I don't even know what those are. I know I have them, but no, I appreciate it, you guys. I just really appreciate you guys having me. Thanks for letting me come on here, and I love getting on here and helping out, especially other podcasters. I ran a podcast for a few years. It's really dwindled over this last year. It's just hard to keep it going sustained when I'm trying to get too many irons in the fire, right? But no, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I'd love to come back and join you guys some other time.
We'd love to have you back on. Well, again, thank you so much, Dan, for joining us during the season. We hope to see you back in the majors again, hopefully for the Cardinals, because we need somebody at
uh,
the in our rotation.
I'm a Cub right now, brother.
hey, hey,
All
you know
right.
what? The Cubs can use a relief help too, so maybe
Yeah,
maybe it'll happen in the near future, and
Everybody,
I'm hoping
hey, we'll
that it
see.
does.
it
We'll
will.
see. I appreciate it, guys. Appreciate it.
All right,
All
no
right. Well,
problem. Thank you so much.
thank
Take
you
care,
so
guys.
much.
Bye.